Every day, Joe plays this game. He starts with enough small bills to make change, lots of 5s and 1s. Then the clock starts. It's 1:30 in the morning.
I go out with almost nothing in my pocket in the morning. Sometimes I end up with thousands. Sometimes I end up broke at the end of the day.
So how much do you have in your pocket today?
I got $32 in my pocket today. By 6 o'clock, I should have at least a couple of $100. And, I take it from there.
By 6 a.m., he means. Joe, who doesn't want me to use his last name, drives a superstretch limousine in Las Vegas. Joe says he prefers starting in the middle of the night. He doesn't like crowds or traffic. Here's how his game works. By driving his limo to and from the airport mostly, Joe slowly earns enough, a few $100s, to play blackjack in the casino. And then pretty much the sky's the limit.
Sometimes I end up with 10 grand, One time I started out with like $32 or $33.
Like today?
Like today, and I wound up with $84,000 at the Gold Coast.
$84,000?
$84,000.
How do you turn 32?
I try and build it up to like 1,000, and then I play with the 1,000. I build it up to 3, 4, and then you get on a run.
Joe's a bit of a legend in Las Vegas gambling circles. I'd heard about him from a pawnbroker south of the Strip who said Joe was a regular customer who came every month for about a year. Among the stories he told me, which led me to Joe, that he'd never worked a day in his life, that he lived only on a trust fund until he was 50, controlled by his father who despised his love of gambling. On his 50th birthday, the legend went, Joe inherited $6 million. He instantly spent the first $1 million on a house. The remaining $5 he gambled away. It took him 5 hours. Joe says not true, but based on the truth. He did inherit millions of dollars from his family and did lose a big piece of it gambling, but over years, not hours.
People tell me, oh, look at the kind of life you lead, one day I could have $1 million, the next day I'd be broke, but I love it. I love the action. I love the adrenaline. I get an adrenaline rush from it.
One day you have $1 million and the next day you're broke?
Yeah, I can have.
Is that an exaggeration or
no,
really?
It's not an exaggeration. I had days where I went in and I won, like at the Horseshoe, I won $680,000. I started the day out with like $50 in my pocket. And I went out and I bought 2 homes with some of the money. And I ended up losing the other money. Then I needed money, so I borrowed on the houses. And then I lost the houses. I couldn't pay it. I go up and down, It's like a roller coaster. But I really enjoy doing it, I think without it, I'll just wilt away and die. See, this is one of the hotels the Barbary Coast won't let me in. If I go in there and sit down for 2 minutes, they'll tell me to get up and leave.
Joe has a long history of winning big in the casinos. So much so, and this is clearly true, about a dozen of them in Las Vegas have kicked him out. He says most of them think he cheats. Nobody could be that lucky, they say. Among the places where he's still allowed to play, none wanted their names mentioned or would allow me to record in their casinos today. So we were limited to taping outdoors, where most of Joe's game happens anyway.
Sometimes you stand here for like half hour and nobody will come out. But as soon as they come out to take a cab, I approach them,
Okay.
First stop, his favorite nameless hotel and casino, where the doorman lets him approach potential customers from the circular driveway out front. Joe tips the doorman for each ride he gets, so he gives Joe first dibs on every person who walks out the door.
You guys need a cab? Yeah. Want to go on this? $15. $15? Yeah.
With the approval of the doorman, lots of people say yes.
Isn't this a lot nicer than a cab?
A lot nicer.
See?
It's 2 a.m., with our first $15 coming in. Joe says he started waking up at these hours when he worked in New York operating vending machines and coffee carts, gambling in Atlantic City on the weekends. There, too, he says most of the casinos kicked him out. By the time he came to Vegas 14 years ago, he says he was ready to retire. But he gambled full-time for the first 8 years he was here.
Well, he's not a dishonest man by no means, but, he's an opportunist. He's the type of guy, if there's an opportunity for him to, to work the odds or make $1. He'll make 10. He's one of them guys.
George, please don't mention my full name either or where I work, is a casino manager in one of the few places where Joe now plays. We met in an empty hotel ballroom, far from the casino floor.
They think he counts cards. He doesn't. He's very good at knowing when the deck goes cold, when there's not a chance of winning. If I were to own a casino and have 1,000 Joes walking around in my casino, I'd be out of business in short order.
Well, maybe not. Joe walks away with his winnings, but then he always comes back for more play. And that combination, George says, does to Joe what it does to everyone.
I see the numbers. There's not a player in this place, like any casino I've ever been in, that has won more than they lost.
Never?
I'd say never. When you see the cumulative numbers.
And that's one reason why Joe is driving a limo.
See if these guys are going to a strip club, that would be great. That's $100.
5 a.m., and we've got $180.
Where you guys going to?
Joe has his eye on a group of guys who've clearly been out on the town for most of the night. Joe's hoping these four are looking to go to a strip club because he gets a kickback of $20 a person.
So you guys having fun? You want the radio on? Radio is optional. It's more money. I got anything you want, as long as you got money.
Joe tells me he also takes guys to the brothels, a half-hour drive from Las Vegas, and collects even more.
We take people out there, and we usually get 30. Now, for the holidays, they're doing 40% of what the person spends. If a person spends $1,000, we get $400 kickback for bringing them out there.
What do you mean for the holidays?
Till December, they're doing like a special. Instead of 30%, they're giving us another 10%. Because I have pictures of everything in my trunk.
As we drive, the stories keep coming. There was the day Joe won big at the racetrack and flew to London on the Concorde just for dinner. Or the 2-day stretch he was playing $20,000 a hand at the Hilton and walked away with over $1 million. These kinds of stories can't be confirmed, but I wanted to believe them. So he offers to show me what's in his trunk.
See this? There's about $500,000 in markers right here.
Joe hands me a 3-inch stack of receipts from casinos all over town, totaling about $500,000. Evidence, he says, he wants me to see, that these can't all be lies.
And what are those 20,000?
Yeah, they loan you $20,000 to sit and play with. If you lose, you got 30 days to pay it back.
These are 20,000, 20,000?
Oh, they're all like
25,000.
Yeah.
Now, what's this?
This is my uncle in Forbes magazine. He made like close to $1 billion.
He's your uncle?
Yeah, that's my uncle.
Billionaire?
Yeah.
Later, when I look into it, that story checks out, as does the one about his aunt, who Joe says sits on the board of the Metropolitan Opera in New York. He says she's the one who bails him out when he gets over his head in debt. Joe admits he's the black sheep in the family.
How much do they give you?
$41.
It's 7:30 a.m. and we're up to $350 from the run to the strip club and 5 trips to the airport.
So we just keep going around and around.
There's a brief lull. Joe says it's time to go into the casino.
I'm going to go play a little blackjack. The only thing is, I don't know if they're going to let you. Of course they want to.
The casino won't let me record his play, of course, but I watch.
I'm going to play with $100 now.
Hang on, you're planning on?
I'm making $50 or $60 in like 15 minutes or less.
Joe sits in front of a woman dealer with an empty table, and he's got that look, almost like a drinker who bellies up to a bar every night, like he belongs there. He signals the woman for cards and chips and quick, shortcut hand signals. Each hand takes less than a minute. He plays a few and easily wins his $60 in 10 minutes or less. Before I know it, we're out again. 8 a.m. with $410. He says it's getting to be peak time for airport runs.
See, now it gets busy, so I don't have a chance to really go in and gamble on because I'm, as long as I keep the cash coming in. If it's low, I supplement it with gambling. If it's not, I just,
But you wouldn't rather be gambling?
I'd rather be working.
Really?
Yeah.
happened to your feeling about the gambling? I mean, you gambled. You did nothing but
I
gamble.
just do it, because I'm so hyper. I have to have something to do. I used to sit like I was at the Flamingo one time, and I had about $40,000 in chips in front of me, and I was playing like $2,000 a hand, and I told the doorman, if you get a good ride, like to a golf course, come and get me, So it was like for $75. Anyway, he came up to the table and he told me I got a ride for $75. And people in the pit, they all think I'm nuts, I just stopped. I took my money, and I ran down to take the guy for $75. And here I am playing $2,000 a hand. I try and separate the two. One has nothing to do with the other,
I don't understand that.
I know, nobody does, but that's how I am,
But do you understand that?
I don't, gambling to me is gambling. Work is work,
10 a.m., and we've got $650. We've had 3 more airport runs, and the last customer just gave him a $25 tip.
Only in America.
But Joe says today his game is subdued compared to the past. At age 54, he's had some heart trouble, and that's changed the stakes. A year ago, his daughter was home from college and noticed he didn't look well and called for an ambulance. Joe was having a heart attack.
So it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I think he might have been in a casino, but I'm not sure.
I guess that's enough to really get your heart rate up.
Yeah. So if you ask me, I think he probably was, but he never told me for sure.
Joe's daughter knew what she was doing. She's studying to be a doctor in medical school in the Middle East. I talked with her via her cell phone while she was working at a hospital in some remote spot in Israel. She asked that I not use her name, not even her first name. What did you tell your friends your dad did?
Now or when I was growing up? Because now even only a few people in my class really know, of my good friends even.
What did you tell them then?
Then I would say, well, he's not really doing anything now, but he had real estate in New York. And sometimes I just make things up. I'd say he's a chef. And so, but it was always funny because I was running joke between, me and my dad. But when I was growing up, I just couldn't tell people because nobody else had a dad like that. And so I felt like they would either not believe me or I would sound ridiculous and they just wouldn't understand.
When Joe moved to Las Vegas, his daughter was just entering high school. He raised her practically as a single parent, starting from the time she was born when his ex-wife had a breakdown. It wasn't until they moved to Las Vegas that she says she really understood just how much her father gambled.
I guess what always blew me away in the beginning is we would walk in and everybody would know him. And they would know me too because he would talk about me. And I would say to him, how do these people know you? I was amazed by that. And they would joke with him and they'd say, are you back again? And they'd say, well, what do you need today? Because he would go in sometimes and he'd say, I need a pool today.
How much money does it take to build a pool?
$20,000. I don't remember how.
How long did that take?
Literally 10 minutes, maybe. 1, 2, 3, and that was it.
But as much as she knows her dad's wins, she remembers the times when they were broke. Really broke.
We would have to search for quarters on the floor. And my uncle, this is really funny, to buy a hamburger or something like that.
Search for quarters on the floor in your uncle's?
Yeah, he would search. We would pick them up, and I would go and get a hamburger. But that was in the very beginning. I mean, even when things are really bad, he can always find a way out of it. And even I would be amazed. I mean, because I would say to him, there's no way. How are you going to do that? And he'd say, don't worry, we'll find a way. And there's always a way. And he can just laugh about it.
Which airline you going to?
Southwest.
Southwest?
It's noon, and Joe has $1,100. The limo business has been steady for hours. It's a good time for business, but Joe wants to take a break to call his daughter.
I talk to her like 5 times a day.
It's late night in Israel. He just wants to hear about her day.
Hi, honey, it's me. I just called to say hi.
So what's happened since your daughter is gone?
Well, that's when I started to work. I never worked when she was here, This like fills my void, maybe, in a way. I just think about it. But I miss her so much. When I see her, it's like, it's the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, we're at the airport now. This is 0 level.
I'm gonna go upstairs and see how busy it is. If people are looking for rooms.
It's 1:30 p.m. and we're up to $1,300. We've just dropped off yet another ride at the airport. And for a little variety, Joe says he's going to show me how he also sells hotel rooms. These are hotel rooms the casinos give him for free because he gambles so much.
So I gotta make it seem like I'm just, walking casual.
Joe's carefully checking out a middle-aged couple in shorts and tennis shoes. Just as he's about to approach them, we're interrupted.
Hi, this is Joe. Oh, how you doing, Dave? What's up?
A lucrative job has come up. He says some high roller wants to charter his limo for 3 hours.
For 3 hours? Did you tell him it's $75 an hour, though?
Joe says these guys are seldom big tippers, but it's worth the gamble. This customer, a handsome, mid-30s Middle Easterner, says no recording, please. So Joe tells me to take a break, and he'll catch up with me when he's done.
He says my family lost their homes when the Jews took over Israel.
It's 5 p.m., and I have no idea how much money Joe has. When we reconnect, he looks exhausted, but hyped up. Since I left him, he's finished with the charter, been to the casino to gamble, where he won $500. But there's more. He's anxious to tell me about how he's ended the day.
Now tell me this again. So, this guy at the end of the day, you thought this was going to be the end of the day.
I just asked him, I said to him, where are you from? So he says, Lebanon. I said, I speak Arabic, I said, I was born in Baghdad. I was really born in Baghdad, Iraq.
What Joe didn't tell the guy is that he's Jewish.
I said, are you Muslim? He says, yeah. I said, oh, there's Jews. I said, what they're doing is terrible, to the Palestinians. And then his adrenaline just started going, and he wanted to go out with me tonight. He wanted to hire the car for 5 hours tonight. And then I said, no, I'm too tired. I said, so he says, well, I'll call you tomorrow. I said, fine, He's like, oh, buddy. But if he gave me $500, I said, all right. See, that's what I call it. A perfect day. You go out with like $32. You go home with $2,000.
As we take off, Joe's still hanging on to today's winnings in a wad of bills, folded up like it's a double cheeseburger in one of his hands on the steering wheel.
$230 he gave me as a tip. Which is not fair.
But think of it. If Joe just worked 5 days a week, making $2,000 a day, and never lost it back, that'd be $500,000 a year.
It's a wonderful country.